I did not write a review for Star Wars The Last Jedi, but I did make a bunch of videos about it, and I gotta tell ya, I really, really hate The Last Jedi. It is one of the worst films I have ever seen. I am not exaggerating, my God. The movie is terrible. I almost walked out of the theater, okay? I'm not kidding. I almost walked out. I decided against it because Star Wars is an event, it's a cultural moment, and I said, whether or not I'm enjoying the movie, it's important I see it so I can understand references and comment on why I thought it was so bad. And I've made several videos talking about just why it's so bad, so you don't need that one for me now. But apparently, people didn't really hate the movie. No, the bad reviews were actually Russian trolls and non-humans. This is what I'm like, listen, you know what? We're not living in the real world anymore. Everybody's insane. Can we just not like a movie? No, we can't. According to IndieWire and many other sources, Star Wars The Last Jedi Backlash. Academic study reveals 50% of online hate caused by Russian trolls or non-humans. AC academic study published by researcher Morton Bay investigates the real sources behind the hatred of The Last Jedi. Oh my God, Ryan Johnson has seen more than his fair share of online harassment over Star Wars The Last Jedi, but in a new academic study finds the backlash to his film should be taken with a grain of salt. The study was published by researcher Morton Bay under the title Weaponizing the Haters, The Last Jedi and Strategic Politicization of Pop Culture Through Social Media Manipulation. Bay investigated the online backlash to Johnson and The Last Jedi that began after the film's December 2017 release. Why did Solo do so bad? You want to know why I didn't go see Solo? Because The Last Jedi was so awful, I had, listen, Pirates of the Caribbean 1 was great. Pirates of the Caribbean 2 was, Pirates of the Caribbean 3 was like, oof. Pirates of the Caribbean 4 I didn't see. And Pirates of the Caribbean 5, I decided to go see because, it's been a long time, there's a movie, I might as well see it. And Pirates 5, not so bad. But the reason I didn't go see 4 is because 3 was awful. And I barely wanted to go see 3. But you know what? They still got their money from me. Now, The Force Awakens was okay. I enjoyed it. I didn't think it was the greatest movie. I thought it was kind of a shot-for-shot remake of A New Hope. I see what they were trying to do. Not a huge fan, but it was good enough to where I was like, it's an enjoyable film. Why don't I go see another one? The Last Jedi was so goddamn awful that the next film, I said, yeah, definitely not going to go see Solo. No way. And it's not because I don't like Han Solo, and it's not because I heard the film was bad. Actually, I heard the film was good. I heard it was like a good popcorn flick. The issue is, and I still haven't seen it, by the way, I've not seen Solo, and I will never again watch a Star Wars movie. Okay, I used to be a big fan of Star Wars. More of a fan of Star Trek. But The Last Jedi was so bad that I'm worried about feeling that pain in my gut watching another Star Wars film. There's a great video I watched on YouTube. Talked about how you can adequately subvert expectations. Infinity War did a good job of doing that. Star Wars did a bad job. Apparently, we're not allowed to be mad at movies for being bad anymore, because Star Wars is so important to the American economy that the only way the movie could have been bad is that actually it wasn't bad, it was the Russians. That's right. Not only did the Russians want to get Donald Trump elected, apparently the Russians want us all to believe that Star Wars is a bad movie. Why? I have no idea. Why? Oh my God. When you come to me and say that Russian trolls are trying to manipulate US elections, I go, yeah, I can see why they'd do that. When you come to me and go, did you know that the people who hate Star Wars The Last Jedi aren't actually real people, but they're mostly Russians? I'm like, or they're not like Americans, they're Russians. I'm just like, yeah, sorry. You're not going to convince me that the Russians are trying to smear Star Wars now. Like, that literally makes no sense, okay? According to Weaponizing the Haters, much of the online fan arguments over the film are actually deliberate, organized political influence measures in disguise. The likely objective of these measures is increasing media coverage of the fandom conflict, thereby adding to and further propagating a narrative of widespread discord and dysfunction in American society. Persuading voters of this narrative remains a strategic goal for the U.S. alt-right movement as well as the Russian Federation. I'm done. Okay, I'm not really done, I'm back. But holy goddamn shit. Please, people, are you listening to this? What is happening? Whatever it is, whatever the Russians, the conspiracy, whatever it is it's got its tendrils in everything. They're claiming now that bad reviews for Star Wars The Last Jedi is part of the alt-right Russian Federation conspiracy to sow discord in American politics. Oh my god. Hello, friends. I am a mixed-raced male. I am an oppressed minority in this country. In fact, did you know that mixed-race people are one of the smallest, if not the smallest, minority in the country? As such an oppressed minority, I'd like my opinion to be taken for what it is, and to not be accused of being a Russian troll or being somehow linked to the alt-right and whatever nonsense. Because it's always fascinating to me how you could claim that a mixed-race person is in fact in favor of being of the creation of a white homeland for which they would be removed. But now that you understand my oppressed, marginalized status, please hear me out when I say Star Wars The Last Jedi was a terrible movie. I think this might be the most insane, ridiculous nonsense I've ever heard in my life. And I am so... You know what? I think I figured out the real conspiracy here. The real conspiracy is to convince people like me, who are like center-left, moderate individuals who probably would vote for a Democrat, it's to convince us to leave. That's the real conspiracy. This article is playing into the Russian conspiracy. The Russians are claiming, the Russians are fanning the flames of hate over Star Wars so that articles like this will be written to make rational people like me lose their minds and just say, I'm out, peace. Get in my car, drive into the middle of the woods, and want to have nothing to do with the utter absurdity that is, this is insane. Can I tell you what really happened? I hope you were all realizing I was joking about the mixed race thing. Like, I don't believe that my opinion is weighted by my marginalized status. But I'd like to just point out that Star Wars The Last Jedi was directed by Rian Johnson, who did a bad job. And there's a lot of inconsistencies, there's a lot of bad writing, and it kind of just doesn't make sense, and it deviates ridiculously from the rest of Star Wars. That's about it, okay? It's a bad movie. It was too long. It was, like, listen, I hope by now you've seen Star Wars The Last Jedi, but let me just point out, Star Wars The Last Jedi is a film about spaceships which can hyperjump, like they can fasten the speed of light. They're in a slow speed chase. And the best part, what I really love about Star Wars is that you've got the Resistance fleet, and then you've got the destroyer behind it, right? And they're both moving forward, but when the Resistance ship loses fuel, it starts to drift backwards. Like, dude, there's no drag in space. You would just keep going. And then I've heard the argument where they're like, yes, but they're continually accelerating the whole time. So if they stopped accelerating, they would drift backwards. And I'm like, dude, okay, sure. But when you have to make excuses for why physics makes no sense in a film like Star Wars, you know, look, it's a fantasy film, I get it. The Force isn't real. But we as audience members want to believe there is some consistency in the universe, otherwise you can just Deus Ex Machina whatever you want. Oh, did you know there's a force power called, like, psychic explosion? And then when Snoke is in the room, Kylo Ren is all like, boom, and then Snoke explodes, and we never knew they could do it because we just made it up, because that's what we can do in fantasy universes. The point I'm trying to make is the movie was bad, and this is nonsense. All right, let's let's read a little bit more. Bay found that 50.9% of people tweeting negatively about The Last Jedi were politically motivated or not even human, with a number of these users appearing to be Russian trolls. The overall backlash against the film wasn't even that great, with only 21.9% of tweets analyzed about the movie being negative in the first place. Since the political and ethical positions presented in the new films are consistent with older films, it is more likely that the polarization of the Trump era has politicized the fans, Bay writes of the backlash. The divisive political discourse of the study period and the months leading up to it has likely primed these fans with a particular type of political messaging that is in direct conflict with the values presented in The Last Jedi. What values? What are you talking about? The values of using the Force, of light speed jumping through Star Destroyers and fighting against the First Order? What values are you talking about? Look, I know there's a lot of people that criticize The Last Jedi for being an SJW film or something, and they call Holdo Admiral Gender Studies. That's not why I don't like the movie, okay? I was actually, admittedly, look, you guys know that I like social justice and these things. I just don't like authoritarianism, and I don't like bullshit. I like Rose Tico. I like the introduction that they're going to have, you know, a diverse cast and all that. But Rose Tico was written so poorly, they did Kelly Marie Tran a disservice. The Kanto Bite, whatever thing, casino, like, literally made no sense. They go, like, okay, they were able to leave the ship being chased by the First Order and travel at the speed of light, but no one else was able to. Sure, come up with a reason. Maybe there's a reason I don't understand. But then they go to a casino planet to find some code breaker and end up grabbing some random dude from a prison who they just happen to believe has the abilities. So what is this? You know why I don't like the Star Wars The Last Jedi? It was a film about losers. Everyone in the film loses nonstop. They succeed at nothing. Finn tries to escape because he's scared they're going to die, and Rose Tico electrocutes him, whatever. He failed. They're supposed to go to the casino planet to get this code breaker. They failed. Then you got, what's-his-face, Poe, who's trying to lead a coup to save the Resistance. He fails. Rey, she fails. They all failed everything they did and barely survived. The Resistance was decimated in the end. There was no success, and Luke Skywalker died. The whole movie is failures. Is my opinion invalid? Am I turning into a Russian? Look at this! Ryan Johnson even tweeting about it. A bit of Morton's research came out a while ago and made some headlines. Here's his full paper, looking forward to reading it. But what the top line describes is consistent with my experience online. These people, Ryan Johnson, so utterly delusional that instead of accepting that your movie probably sucked, and that's why Solo didn't make as much money as everyone thought it would, it's not Burnout. I watch Marvel movies nonstop. I would see a Marvel movie every weekend if they had one. I would not see Star Wars because The Last Jedi was terrible, but they have to justify why they're not failures. And this is what so many of these people do. They say, it's not. I'm not wrong. It's the fans who are wrong. Actually, it's not the fans who are wrong. They're all Russian trolls anyway. And then they can go sit in their little bubble. You know what it's like? It's like the story of, Narcissus? They're all staring into the lake, looking at their faces, convinced that everything else is fake, and they're the beautiful, Russians. They don't just want to take over the U.S. government. They are trying to sow discord by saying that Star Wars is a bad movie. All right. I got another video coming up in a few minutes. I'll see you then.